All right, new patch is out, and we've got our hands on the S-Blast now. So let's break down this weapon. There are some really cool mechanics to it that are easy to miss at first glance. Like was described in the trailer, there are two firing modes to this weapon. So if you fire normally from the ground, you have about range blaster range, so it's about 3 lines or so. That has a one-shot direct. They both have one-shot directs, and the indirect damage varies depending on where you hit. So that will still two-shot, generally. But you'll notice I'm having a little bit of a hard time lining this up, because the indirect radius is smaller than it is on any other blaster. Like, any other blaster would hit from here, but the S-Blast doesn't. So that's one downside to it. Now, the jump shot does not have that downside. The jump shot can just hit both of these two targets if the aim RNG cooperates, which it often doesn't. You can see that when I jump, the corners of the reticle are jumping way out. It is very inaccurate. You'll see I'm just keeping my aim in the same spot. Sometimes it's hitting only the right one, sometimes it's hitting only the left one, sometimes it's hitting both. It's not super accurate, but the blast is so huge. I have hit both of these two targets at the same time before, but in all of the demos that I've been trying to get, the aim RNG has not cooperated. It's pretty precise, and I might not be positioned quite perfectly to do it. So, but it is Clash Blaster sized. That is the biggest blast radius out of any of the blasters, and you get access to that when you're jumping. So that makes it really good for like poking up from under ledges, because you can use the blast radius instead of having to like expose yourself on an open sight line, the way that you will with a narrower hitbox. So there are definitely good use cases for either one. If someone gets really close to you and all you need to hit is an indirect, you're way better off trying to go for the jump shot here, because the indirect is going to hit really close to you, so it's a lot more likely to hit. It's a lot more likely to be accurate. At this kind of a range, you're either directing the player or you're missing them with the grounded shot, because the indirect is way too far away. And that's a problem with blasters in general, that if someone gets close to you, then only way that you're ever going to hit them is if you actually aim well enough to direct. Whereas with a jump shot here, you're not so much worried about that. Now, those are the two firing modes as described. What Nintendo has not told us is that this actually works just like the roller does, where if you press ZR before you jump, you get the grounded attack. So just like you can jump with a horizontal flick with a roller, I can jump and still get this max range perfect accuracy shot. I can't hit the short range jump shot from here. This is just the normal grounded firing mode, and you can see there is no aim deviation when I get up there. The reticle's corners stay where they are at. So that's a really powerful tool. You can just always be jumping and choose which firing mode you want based on the situation. You don't need to worry about losing access to it just because you jumped, which is a really nice feature. The only way that you can't fire the weapon is getting this jump shot with the low accuracy, low range, big blast radius from the ground. But most of the time, you're going to be firing from the air anyway. You're going to want to be shooting and moving at the same time, just because that's a valuable thing to be able to do. It's a very slow fire rate weapon, and so losing time just standing still to fire a shot, usually not what you want to do. You're often going to want to be moving like this anyway. The long-range jump shot also works with a squid roll. So you can see it's going to cancel really early, and so you're just going to like kind of fly through the air in the opposite direction. That was not it. That was it. But you can see that I am getting that direction change that you get from the squid roll before I cancel it immediately with the shot. So that's really cool tech that every S-Blast player needs to master, because that is how this weapon is going to be played. One other trick, and this also works with Range Blaster, this is a way that you can kind of avoid the aim RNG from the air, but on this weapon it's also a way that you can get the extra range. is if you walk off a ledge, you can see that the whole way down through the air, it doesn't actually trigger the aim RNG to go haywire. So I can get the max range shot if I just walk off. If you jump off, that's when you're going to get the RNG and the bigger blast radius. But if you just swim off, then you get to keep all of your accuracy and your range. So if you're trying to do airborne shots and you're trying to like drop off a ledge while you fire, that's the way that you want to do it if you need the extra range. The kit for this weapon is not doing it a lot of favors. The sprinkler is really not what it wanted. The reef slider isn't a bad choice for it because it's going to be playing very aggressively. But it's also just really weak right now, and so even though, you know, it fits the niche of the weapon, it's just not very effective at that niche right now. But the main weapon is definitely probably the strongest blaster main weapon that there is in the game right now. And it may still see significant competitive use just because of that versatility, you know, the different choices of fire rate. Another thing that's really valuable about this is that the projectile speed is faster than that of the range blaster. From pulling ZR to hitting the target, it's 4 frames faster, which is pretty significant considering the range blaster takes 15 frames. And so this weapon is much faster at getting the splat. It's very accurate. It's got the same kind of range. And you also have access to the benefits of like a short-range blaster for being able to like poke over ledges and play really aggressively while not sacrificing on aim. This is a weapon that's going to be relatively difficult to push against players who are really accurate. So it should be really interesting to see how it develops in competitive play. And I'm looking forward to seeing what people can do with it.